Now look at Miocic. Really? Oh, so that's how you're gonna play it. You gonna do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
Another big fight weekend this Saturday, tomorrow, UFC 252. When there's a big fight, there's only one guy I hit. Sergio Vicente of the Fight Podcast. We're going to talk about the main event, and I'm going to ship you to his podcast because he's going to give you the whole breakdown of the full card. Sergio Vicente, the Fight Podcast. Welcome in, my boy.
What's going on there, brother?
Man,
thank you for having me on the show today, man.
Before everybody looks at your screen and wants to know, just tell the folks where you taking this interview at. This is sensational, immaculate.
You know, we're out here today, man. You know, it's been such a hectic, few months for everybody, man. I've been quarantining, shut down, and I had to get a little bit of nature, man. So me and some of the fam, we're in Sedona, Arizona right now, just enjoying some of the sights and and just soaking up some sun. You know how we get down.
I see you. Let's jump right into it. UFC 252.
Year.
Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier 3, the trilogy. The trilogies are always, listen, when you fight somebody 3 times, you're going to find out who's the better fighter.
Absolutely.
That's just what it is. Like, a lot of things can happen in one fight. A lot of things can happen in 2. There's no excuse. Whoever wins 2 of the 3 is going to be the better fighter here.
Most times, yes. Yeah. Most times, yes, unless you have a terrible judge like against Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, because that brother won twice and they gave it to the other guy. So that's the only ones. But this one here is arguably for the greatest heavyweight of all time in MMA history.
Without question.
Without question. Look, there's always going to be the arguments of Fedor Emelianenko, which is understandable. But if you look at what both of these men have done, you have one guy on the one side, record of 22-2. Daniel Cormier, 2-time champion, multiple weight class champion, Olympic caliber wrestler. This dude is incredible. But then you have on the other side, the multiple time UFC heavyweight champion, the heavyweight champion of the UFC that's actually defended his belt more than anybody else. And the all around good guy, the actual legitimate hero, the fireman, Stipe Miocic. Man, this fight, I am so excited for it.
It should be. There's a lot going on. People are talking about retiring. Miocic's like, I got the belt. He doesn't seem too bothered. We're gonna play some clips on it coming up here, but I do want to play just to kick it off. They had the presser, and this is your kind of first look at the eye up pre-press conference.
Look at those boys looking clean. Yo, you would not expect those two to be 2 of the baddest dudes in the world. Man, those look like a science teacher and a gym teacher.
That's facts. It's did you see anything there first off? And do you take anything away from the eye up? I know some people try to analyze those. Did you see anything there?
Always. You always look for something in this, especially when it's leading that sort of. You want to see a couple of different things. How do they look physically? Is anybody gaunt? Is anybody like that? They're heavyweights, so they look healthy, right? But then I'm looking at, especially with heavyweights, do they look in shape or do they look sloppy? You look at DC, he has always had a belly, but his shoulders looking like boulders right now. He looks crazy. And then on the other side, Stipe looks good. And how they looking like they both look extremely confident. These guys, these are champions. These are the best of the best. Nothing in the world scares these guys. So they're in here, they're ready. This is going to be an epic showdown.
Talk to me about the keys to the fight, and then we'll get into the presser and the antics and the comments. But Cormier is talking about wrestling, but then in the same breath, he's talking about, I want to beat him up too. Talk to me about the keys to the fight and how you see it going.
So let me start with the champion, Stipe Miocic. Stipe Miocic is someone who has incredible wrestling, but especially he's great with his anti-wrestling. You know, he can keep it on the feet. So what he needs to do is stay on the outside. Daniel Cormier, as we already know, is the better wrestler. Daniel Cormier is the shorter man, and he's also the heavier man. So he's going to try to get on the inside. So what Stipe needs to do is stay on the outside, make sure he's using his reach and utilizing what got him the victory last time, staying on the outside, mixing it up, shooting to the body, hurting DC in the body. DC's been proven that he can be hurt to the body in multiple fights. Anderson Silva hurt him to the body. So this is something that could happen with Daniel Cormier. So that's what he needs to attack the body, stay on the outside, pepper him, and then once he has his openings, go in for the kill like he did last time. Now, on the other hand, you have Daniel Cormier, and he's right. It's his fight to lose. He lost. Stipe did not win last time out. Daniel Cormier lost because he lost respect for the champion. And what he stopped doing when he stopped going to his bread and butter, which is, I'm the best wrestler in the heavyweight division. Let me put you on your head. Yes, sir.
Really quick. So
absolutely.
To say he lost respect for Stipe in the middle of the fight,
yes,
is valid. But isn't that telling that, I mean, because I think DC was like, man, I can do whatever I want to this guy. I am destroying this dude.
And when he was.
And it's human nature to kind of just lax a little bit. And then those body shots start kicking in. And there's one thing in fighting, bro. You can hide a lot of shit. You can break your hand. I've seen folks break their hand, continue on, and people don't know. If you get hit with a clean body shot, bro, ain't no hiding, G. It's over with. Oh, like, you gonna show it at
the soul snatcher, bro. Like, you get whacked with that one, man. It I don't matter who you. I don't care how tough you are. It sucks, especially just getting the right spot. So yeah, that's rough, man.
Yeah. So I say that to say he feels like he can just control this guy. I kind of felt like you were going towards. He needs to get back. DC needs to get back to his bread and butter and get back to more wrestling.
Absolutely. And because here's the thing, if Daniel Cormier last time out, Daniel Cormier, until he was winning until he wasn't last time, pretty much. Yeah. He was winning literally every moment of the fight. And he very, very easily, if you go back and look at that fight, put Stipe on his back many times. That first round was arguably a 10-8 round. He literally picked him up, put him down, and beat him up. But one thing that, even though Daniel Cormier is actually saying, hey, I want to put my singlet on, I'm going to wrestle. He also, if you actually check his last pretty much interview that was on Ariel Helwani's show, where they do DC and Helwani every Monday, as they did it last Monday, what he said about that is that, look, man, even though I'm saying I have a singlet, I'm going to go and wrestle, I got these paws for a reason. I know what I'm doing here. And I'm not afraid to stand with anybody. And at the end of the day, what I'm going to do and what I'm best at is mixing it up. And he's right. Daniel Cormier's boxing acumen is just as high. You have Rosendo Sanchez over there, friend of the show, coming on the show. He's with his Daniel Cormier's boxing coach. He's in incredible shape with, his strength coach, Camacho. I feel comfortable with DC's going to be doing. I think he's in shape. And he's right. If he does mix up his wrestling with his striking, especially with a smaller cage, what it is going to be, which does make a huge difference. That small cage favors the smaller wrestler. Interesting.
That's actually a very interesting point. And to go to that interview with DC and Helwani, he talked about well, first off, he talked about the body adjustment can only be made once.
Yes.
He said, look.
Yes.
And I love that he owned it and was like, that was a weakness. Like, I had to tune that up because that's a problem. And he said you can only go to that well once. So I thought that was really interesting. The smaller ring favors the smaller wrestler.
Yes.
That's
so
interesting.
So you think of it like this. The reason that is a bigger cage for the guy who wants to stay on the outside, I have more ways to escape.
Right.
I can use my footwork. I could escape. I can keep you on the outside. Because the cage is so much more condensed, especially with these two huge guys, there's nowhere to run. You can't. You're forced to fight in a phone booth. And if we actually see what's been going on, this is the sixth fight that's actually in Vegas since the pandemic has started. The fact that this is happening now, if you actually go back and look at everything, there have been way more knockouts recently. Why is that? It's because you're forced to engage. It's literally like when you have, I mean, you know, I'm half Puerto Rican. I grew up going and seeing those rooster fights, right? Them cock fights. What they do is they literally put you in a small thing. They shake that motherfucker up. Or I'm sorry if I curse. They shake it up, and they go out there and they have them go at it. This is literally what's going to be happening this time out.
Another thing that I thought was interesting that DC said, and I love that analogy. That's hey, there's nowhere to run to, baby. Nowhere to hide.
Can't go. That's
you
it.
Can't go. That's it.
Nah, it's all these fisticuffs. We about that action, boss.
Exactly. And another thing too that I loved what DC said was he talked about the first knockout came from a wrestling position.
It did.
I thought that was really interesting because it was like a short baby hook. You saw him like bring it over the top,
and he set it up beautifully.
Yeah,
he set it up beautifully.
And he talked about how that was a wrestling maneuver. I want to play.
He had the undercuts and the arm. He had the underhook over under. And what he does is an arm drag. So you're turning your opponent. So he's thinking he's turning it to end up going for a single leg, which he actually did a couple times. Like he faked it. So what happens is when you drop your arm down, your opponent's arms drop as well, opening up that space for the beautiful hook over the top. Oh, it was textbook. Beautiful.
Yeah. The feint game. It's crazy.
Ooh, man.
Okay. This is DC at the presser the other day. I want to get your opinion on his comments. Here's DC.
Absolutely.
Now, the easiest path for me is to try to take him down and hold him down. When I got the takedown the first time, I held him there for about 3 minutes. But it takes energy to do that. But I don't want to just take him down. I want to fight him. Like, I like punching him in the face. It's fun. I enjoy it. His head kind of just stays there. So I like punching him. So I'm going to punch him. I'm going to wrestle. I'm going to do everything. I think that, you know, everybody talks about, oh, you're an Olympic level wrestler. Just go take this dude down. Dude knows how to wrestle. He knows how to wrestle. I felt it immediately when I grabbed his leg. I understand that he has the skills to defend takedowns. He took me down. So it's not as simple as I just go take him down. But I do believe that if I get to his legs and I can extend the wrestling sequences, then I'll come out on top. Because I feel like I could do that against anyone. But I just want to fight him. Like, I don't want to just wrestle him. I want to fight him too.
And Stipe, with the success you had going to Daniel's body in the last fight, how quickly do you look to return to that, or do you
I hear no tales.
The first off, because like you, when I see people eye up and I see people weigh in, I'm looking at details. My boy sounds extremely confident, extremely relaxed, and extremely focused, and knows exactly what he needs to do and how he's going to attack this fight. It's almost it's a little spooky.
Yeah, it is. Think about everything that's going into this fight, right? And here's the thing. I'll say this. I agree with Daniel Cormier, okay? I think he is going to go out there. He's going to wrestle. And one thing that he does better than anybody else, and he's talking about beating him up. And people are like, how do those things go hand in hand? How are you going to take him down and beat him up?
Right.
Well, again, we said this before, and that's what I was saying a little earlier. He does an incredible job of mixing it up. We forget this is a man that was able to knock out this dude with one punch before. So he has the hands. Now, also, let's go down his history, how good his striking is. He outstruck Alexander Gustafsson. He was striking John Jones. And that's one thing, again, he said it himself. He said, I have got hurt twice in my career. And that's when I lost respect for my opponents. The moment I lost respect, I ended up getting caught, and that's on me. You go back and watch that first John Jones fight. He was whooping John's ass until he wasn't. He knocked John's mouthpiece out twice in that fight. So you go down the list and you look at somebody with his acumen, his technique, his skill, he can absolutely do that. And here's the thing. You get somebody is thick and looking like a big walrus on top of you, like DC, and he's on your chest, bro, it is a bad day. And that ground and pound, DC has some of the best ground and pound in the game. So he can do it.
And it's almost like he's
I'm sorry, and real quick, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. And one thing I was thinking about also is one thing that people aren't taking into account and how dangerous it is that Daniel Cormier has been behind the desk for a while. He also does ESPN Plus's detailed series that, God rest dead, Kobe's series that he has. DC was handpicked by Kobe to do that series. He actually sits down and he meticulously breaks down film for his job. That gives him confidence because he is more than anybody. Most fighters, their coaches are the ones going through the film and looking at it. He himself is going through all this film, going through a fine-tooth comb. So if he looks and feels that confident, it's not a fabrication. That's what it is.
He's been talking about watching tape. He's like, I've been watching boxing. I went back and watched a bunch of boxing. And another interesting thing is he seems to feel that people only want to talk about his wrestling and never talk about his hands. Like you mentioned, he's like, bruh, I guess like everyone just wants me to go take him down. But by the way, this guy can wrestle too. And it's not just as easy as taking him down. I'm going to have to mix it up. And you can almost hear it in his voice. Like, and let me remind you guys again, because you guys don't seem to be paying attention, that I can throw paws as well.
In the words of the great Roy Jones Jr., y'all must have forgot.
Right. Like that's straight like that. So I know we've been focusing a lot on DC.
Yes.
Because it's before I even ask you, I could tell you're kind of leaning that way as am I.
As of right now. Yeah.
But I want to hear Stipe's comments at the presser. I'm going to play those now. Mm-hmm. I'll say this as a little intro. They're not as detailed as DC's.
No.
Don't let it happen again. I mean, yeah, I just he's got a great pace, and he's a great fighter, and I let him dictate what's the beginning of the fight, which I can't let that happen. I got to do what I do, and I plan on not letting that happen again.
You've been thinking about this guy for almost like 3 years at this point. What's it like to finally know that you're nearing the end of that?
Thank God we're done with this. I mean, it's been great. It's been fun. A lot going on. Rubber match, whatever everyone wants, a trilogy. But when it's all said and done, it's gonna be over.
When you guys started this, you were amicable. You even spoke about making sure you made the most money before your first fight. Has it become a personal rivalry, or is it just competitive?
Well, I think it's always personal whenever you fight, because they're trying to do something. They're trying to beat you. They're trying to take something away from you. And I mean, I got no ill will towards the man. And he's gonna have go to retirement. God bless him, and wish nothing but the best for him.
So, listen to
your thoughts.
So
before I get into it, but yeah.
So I do have concerns for Stipe, for a couple different reasons. He made it seem very much so that the first fight was a fluke, and the second fight, even though he was losing, he essentially said, "Oh, it's because I just started slow. It's like it's nothing that Daniel was doing. It's me." So that first fight didn't happen. The second fight, I started slow, and then I finally got my whatever, right? Okay, if that's how you feel, right? And maybe he does. And maybe he really does feel that way. But that's the same way he got beat the first time. That's the same way Daniel got beat last time, not showing the athlete the proper respect that is due. He does not seem as if he's giving Daniel the same amount of respect that Daniel is giving him. If he does not adapt in his game plan, which a lot of times when there's this trilogies, the person who wins the second fight, a lot of times does not make the adjustment. He feels whoever wins that, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. If he's not making that adjustment, it's going to be a rough night at the office for Buddy. So I'm listening to that, and it's not as detail oriented. I'm listening to it, and it's just like, I'm just going to go out here and do it. It's this disdain. It's just this throwaway comment, like whatever.
It seems like he's just there to collect the check. Let's keep it 100. He's kind of like, when he said, you've been, you guys have been talking about this for years now. Like, what's going to be your, he's like, I'm going to be glad it's over. Wait a second, bro. Wait,
those are those chinks in the armor.
Everything about his comments was telling me that, first off, he's not anywhere near as locked in as Cormier is. 2, he doesn't seem like he cares as much as Cormier. I'll even say this. They asked him about, he was on First Take on ESPN, and they asked Stipe about, his career and, fighting. And he's like, when it's not fun, that's when I'll stop. And he didn't say he wasn't have fun, but he just didn't seem like he was as passionate as DC, bro. It just that's if you want to buckle it down into a word, just say, look, this dude, the passion is not there like DC. It just seems like DC is more serious about it.
DC does seem to be locked in. I think a big thing, especially motivational DC. I mean, DC is a champion, you know, and once you lose a fight in the manner that he did, when he knows he was winning a fight, it's going to turn something up. Especially think about everything that's going into this fight. This is arguably both of their last fight. This is for the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. Daniel Cormier understands the historical significance of this fight. Daniel Cormier also knows his place in history. Because of John Jones, people try to discount what he has done in his career. But if he wins this title, he's done something that John hasn't, and he has separated himself from the two. He needs this fight for his legacy. He needs this fight so that it's just like whatever. That was a chapter, that was John's career, and I did something that John never even thought about doing. So that in itself is giving DC I think a little bit different motivation. And he's fighting one of the greatest fighters of all time. And I think he understands that wholeheartedly because he truly is a student of the game.
If DC win, or okay, let's start with Stipe. If Stipe wins, how does he do it? How what's his path to victory?
Man, if Stipe wins this fight, I will absolutely say I can see Stipe actually outpointing him, staying on the outside, and scoring a late knockout. Very similar to what he did last time. Maybe finally work the body a little bit. Daniel Cormier ends up getting a little bit fatigued, and he takes advantage of some holes in his boxing. That's how Stipe will end up winning that fight. So for Stipe, it'll either be one of two ways. It's going to be either a late TKO, or it's going to be a decision that he grinds out because DC gas. That's pretty much how it's going to happen.
And for DC, your path to victory for DC, and then we'll get your pick.
Path for DC is stay in his chest. Stay in his chest, mix up his wrestling, mix up his striking. Implement a little bit of that Khabib style. I'm going to stay in his chest. I'm going to try to take you. I'm going to push and pull you the entire time. I'm going to keep you uncomfortable. I'm going to mix in my striking. If Daniel Cormier can do that, he lands a knockout early to mid rounds.
And your pick from the man himself, Sergio Vicente of the Fight Podcast.
This one, I'm not going to lie. As much as I've been talking about it, I've gone back and forth. And I've really, with a fire through cone, I've watched both of these guys' fights. And I'm truly saying these are two of the best to ever do it. Okay. And I need people to understand that. And Stipe truly has not gotten the respect throughout his career that he's deserved. He is incredible. You look at everybody throughout his career who he has beaten. He's beaten champion after champion. He beat the scariest dude in the sport in Francis Ngannou, and he dominated him. This dude is an absolute monster. With all that being said, I see Daniel Cormier winning this fight by a second or third round TKO.
There you have it.
It's going to be fun.
Listen, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And real quick, I have to say this. In the fight card itself, one person, if we're going to look out for somebody else aside from this, check out Sugar Sean O'Malley. That kid there is next up. I'm telling you, he has everything. He has the look. He has the charisma. He has the striking. He has the team. This kid is the real deal. They're giving him a step up in competition. But if he wins this fight, I'm telling you now, he's the co-main event. This could be off to the races. Keep your eye out for Sugar Sean O'Malley.
If you need some fight information, there's only one place to go. The Fight Podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Knows what he's talking about. Anytime there's a fight coming up, MMA related, I'm hollering at him. Tell him where to find you. Tell him where to download you. Tell him where to plug in at.
Well, check us out, man. I am Sergio Vicente, the host of the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. We're everywhere podcasting is available. You could also catch us on YouTube at our channel at thefightpodcast.com. Check us out on all social media platforms at the Fight Podcast. And also, each and every week, go out there and check us out on Instagram. We have our IGTV show called The Scrappy Hour. And we if you guys want to check out your boy Sean, he's on this side. He's been on the show. He's killing it. He killed it. It was a great episode. Check that out. We do that each and every Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Central. But I'll say this. Before fights, this upcoming Saturday, we will be doing a scrappy hour pre-fight show, okay? We'll be doing a pre-fight show. I'll be breaking down the entire fight card. We'll bring some friends on. We'll have some pro fighters on. Brother Sean, if you want to join us on the show, I'd love for you to come on the show on Saturday, man. We are just going to talk some fights. We're having a good time. It's going to be our pre-fight show. You can check us out right on Instagram at The Fight Podcast. It's right down there. You can see it.
You see it. You see the logo.
That's how we get down. That's it. It's over there. It's over there.
The Fight Podcast. Sergio Vicente, I appreciate you coming on, man. UFC 252 should be a good one.
Thank you, sir.
Salute
man.
you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Talk soon.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you, man. You have a good one, brother.
You already know.